Greetings, I am here. I'm just trying to get all the tech stuff coordinated. Not sure why I can't screen share. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Okay. So we can get to here. So that should save. I discovered I can't have the camera on and on Telegram, because then that's why it doesn't work in Rumble, and then all the other videos don't include me in the camera view as well. So it's a crazy thing. We're working it out. Technology again. State nationals, state citizens interested that have tech support, tech skills, that are interested in volunteering their tech support, please, we could all use you greatly. All right. We'll still give others time to get in, get the things situated, get this going, the radio, so it'll carry the over onto the podcast for us. This is the presentation. It's up good here. We should then have Telegram going. So make sure that you put in chat your name and county on Indiana that you live on today, so that we can make sure we get you in the agenda, as well as we can welcome you, right? All right, so we're getting there. We're just about there. Let me see if I can switch. Well, it'd give you all the other stuff with that, so I don't think you need all that. Maybe this will do it. Huh. Let's see. Oh, that'll give you, of course, that gives you all the other stuff. No, that's too much. I guess we're just going to do, let's see how that looks. That's still, yeah, given all. So we're just going to do the main desktop here. All right, so still giving others a chance to get in. Close some things out so it's not so much up to cause so much distraction. All right, we have Johnny on Hendricks County. He is on Rumble. Awesome. Welcome, dear. Woohoo. Woohoo. All right, so let me start making my notes to be able to put in stuff I got to do as I do updates for it to get it ready as well. All right, so on Rumble, we have Johnny on Hendricks. Awesome. Welcome, Johnny. Again. All right. And I am Christine on Gibson County. And I can take a moment and how can I put that in the chat? Can I chat that? I don't know. We'll see. No, don't want to wrap up and leave. I guess I can't put that in the chat. Oh, goodness. Okay. So you'll see it all in the presentations anyway. All right. So it is 6 o'clock. So we'll go ahead and get things going. Let me screen share. It would help if I was screen sharing here as well. On free conference call. Has mic, has camera. So as you're coming in, please give me a heads up, which I get that Johnny was able to hear me and everything because he's done some moving around. So, and he was able to get his name and county in. So, all right. So we'll go ahead and move forward from here. All right. So this is Monday, May the 6th, 2024. And the Indiana General Assembly and Militia Assemblies are in session this evening. And I am the moderator and state coordinator, Christine Michelle Van Pelt, me Bundy, and state coordinator, lead recording secretary, multiple hats that I can possibly do to be able to support and fill in as much as I can. All right. So again, I want to welcome you. And I am on Gibson County, and we'll go ahead and take a moment of silence to honor our Creator. All right. And we want to, we're not bringing this into some kind of a church thing, but at some point in time, we do want to make sure that we can try to, at some point, bring in some actual prayer. If somebody was interested that they wanted to start bringing prayer forward for this time, because the whole point of this was it wasn't that the Declaration of Independence was never a separation from God. It was a separation from the state and the church being controlled by the state. It was never a separation from God. And once they started taking God out, that's when problems really started happening. All right, so we have our disclaimer. We're engaged in the practice of self-government. Everyone here is volunteering their precious time and skill. Each one is an American with rights and prerogatives equal to your own. They are doing this work out of mutual necessity to restore the lawful American government. Demands for service, temper tantrums, and misplaced anger are inappropriate. This country does not belong to its government. This country belongs to the people who live here, and you are one of them. That also goes, don't go demanding for services. Don't go thinking that, you need to be in touch with the person that's going to give me the answers I'm looking for. Well, right now, I'm that one. Pretty much everything for Indiana, I'm that one. All right, so we'll go ahead and get the Bivens decision going. And again, you do need to present what county you live on and your first name. Because we're not like U.S. citizens that like to hide. We're Americans. We're face forward. This meeting is private. Bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner. To eliminate all conflict and false allegations, is there anyone in attendance at today's meeting that is a member of any law enforcement agency or public agency of the federal, state, county, city, or township agency present? Is there any response to the Bivens decision for the first time? You can put the comment in the chat. It's not that you can't be here, but you do have to inform us that you're here. All right. Hearing and seeing none. Is there any response to the Bivens decision for the second time? Hearing and seeing none. Any response to the Bivens decision for the third and final time? Hearing and receiving none. Further, anyone who is here under false pretenses, anyone who is working for any foreign government, including the territorial United States or municipal United States, anyone who is being paid or coerced to be here, must fully disclose their presence and purpose now or leave the premises. Here is the table of contents so that you'll be able to go straight through to the hyperlinks. The agenda is directly into here. All right, so we'll be adding Johnny on Hendricks County here. And again, I am Christine on Gibson County. And support, you can give direct support to Anna and James, her husband, James, who is our hereditary estate that called the assemblies into session. They're needing, of course, assistance to be able to keep things going, right? As well as James has been going through some health issues. He is on the rise, but they do still need support to be able to make that happen. So here's a Cash App to get direct support to them, as well as the assembly needs your support. Remember, there is no IRS enforcement that's stolen any money, nor are there any employers that have stolen money out of any paychecks to funnel anything through these assemblies. This literally is of, by, and for the people. If you're not giving to the assembly, how do you think the assembly is receiving anything to support, to bring forward the support? How do you think that's happening? You think there's some magical tree in the back to be able to go to? No. It's of, by, and for the people. These services come to you because of you. There is no other hanging force that brings money in. This is of, by, and for the people. Okay? Things to remember. So here are the topics that we're going to be running through. We've got the county updates. We had the first new member orientation lesson for this month. So an update on that. Calls to action. A question was brought up in yesterday's new member orientation about the difference between a U.S. citizen and a state citizen. So I thought I'd just go ahead and pull up a little bit more info on that to share that, as well as debt redemption, Mochi sign in America, what all that means. All right. And again, it's going to involve you doing things. This is all self-governing. Okay. This is not a some kind of credit agency service that goes and does all the legwork behind the back for you and go ahead and take care of it all. It's not how that works. Again, presenting the Florida elections process for your review. Again, to this date, no one has commented a word on the Florida elections process. You are the ones that have to bring this forward. I'll run through just a quick review of Anna's current articles, some brief militia PKTF needs, and if Joe was able to join us, he's our PKTF executive director, as well as he's our Area 4 postal area chief, and we're part of Area 4, and it's Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, and Michigan. We all have postal codes that start with 4. And Joe, we're fortunate that Joe is also our postal area chief in that. And as he can, he comes and joins us on the call, usually through Telegram. All right. And a lot of times he's on the road. So we're very grateful for the opportunities when he comes forward. Now, just to remember, in case things get crazy, as well as I have a train that goes right by here. So if the internet goes wonkers and we lose signal, we're reminding ourselves that we adjourn for the next General Assembly is May 20th, and the next Jural Assembly is next week, May 13th. Okay, 6 p.m. Central, which I updated. I noticed on the free conference call that it had 7 p.m. It was reverting to Eastern. So I've corrected that to 6 p.m. Central. Here's just a run through of logic and laws of freedom. Every man and woman is born free and deserves to live and die free. So some things to think about, but as a reminder, if we want peace, it's our duty to keep it, right? And there's a lot that comes with that. We also need a reminder that there are many that are attempting to join the assembly because they've gotten into trouble with territorial municipal law enforcement. And they're belatedly trying to enforce their correct political status and come under the constitutional protections. Both they and the coordinators, because this article was directed to the coordinators, both they and you all need to know that political status correction is not, generally speaking, retroactive. Okay? So it's not generally retroactive. There's no fairy dust here. You still have work to do. You have notices to send. There's work that has to be done. Okay. Any idea that you can just change your political status and thumb your nose at law enforcement authorities or escape crimes committed while in their jurisdiction needs to be squelched. And more about that in Article 2846. Reminder that nationality is a birthright and assembly membership is a choice. So the assemblies are business organizations engaged in very serious and important business. So we have to set the tone for new members and establish the group values so that the group as a whole disciplines people to be polite, logical, businesslike, mature, make sure everyone stays on point, doesn't purposely try to derail the whole thing, especially for for their own purposes. The moment anyone starts acting like a 7th grader and gossiping and being paranoid, it's up to the whole group to let that person know the behavior pattern is not appropriate, not productive, not appreciated, and won't be tolerated. So if you shun gossip and fear mongering, it's going to disappear. But again, you have to come together. Don't try to hurdle off on separate sides because that's where the devil's in the details. That's the purposeful trying to separate you away. It's united we stand. There's a purpose in that. You all are able to say that when it comes to standing for Trump or something like that. But when it comes to doing the real thing, the right thing, where are you? Okay, so it's time to get real into what's going on. So here's reminders from all the 50 coordinators, core state coordinators, and then the core co-coordinators. This is our mission, and we carry it through because it's true for all of us. We all are, in a sense, coordinating because we're all on the building side of this. So we're all having to coordinate. We're having to coordinate how to bring the assembly into our lives, how to bring others into this sphere with us, right? So, but we have to have that mindset that we cannot fail. We are willing and able to do this work physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. It takes a lot of work to go through this before you're actually even doing anything physical. We have resolve and determination. We walk the talk and work every day to bring the du jour into reality. That's what you should be doing as well. Walking the talk, meaning you're in alignment then and no longer a split, and work every day to bring the du jour into reality. Even though it may not be a massive thing that day, but do something that's a little bit more each day to work to bring the du jour into reality, right? We have excellent tools to complete our work. We set realistic and achievable goals. We learn and research constantly. There's no reason why we can't have it done this year. We have all the information, but you all have to get in it and read it and see how to break it down. It's already there. But you're also expecting it to be an itemized, do this step, do this step, do this step, like it's like a bus route where it's already set up for you, that all you have to do is get in and drive. Or it's that the business is already set up and and the customers are already in play and you just walk in the door and that's all you have to do. Well, this is from an entrepreneurial mindset. This is from the very beginning, from the startup. That's where you've got to come into full reality of what this is. All right, so measure our strengths and weaknesses and so forth. Important things about spotting infiltrators. You can read through all of that. It's very obvious signs, but a lot of times their very first modus operandi is that they want to attack the leaders, primarily the coordinator or Anna. And it usually has to do with either the paperwork or the assembly process. And all they're doing is trying to bring in knowledge that isn't a part of land and soil jurisdiction. And so this is all part of this article here. All right, the mission statement. Be clear on this. This is the purpose of the assembly, so you know what the assembly is supposed to be doing. Our Indiana Assembly is dedicated to the restoration of a complete and fully operational land and soil jurisdiction, state and county court system serving the people of Indiana. That's number one, the court system. Got to get the court system in play. The preservation of the national trust, the enforcement of the public law, the upholding of the federal constitution owed to our state and people, the repopulation of our land and soil jurisdiction. We're doing that every time someone puts their paper on the record with the assembly. With the assembly is then repopulating the land and soil jurisdiction. The filling of vacated public offices, the reclamation of our material and intellectual public and private assets. To these ends, the living people of Indiana have called the eligible Indiana nationals and citizen electors to assemble and to serve as jurors and officers. And we have established the process and procedure to qualify jurors and others competent to hold state citizenship and public office. We do this peacefully and without rancor in the exercise of our unincorporated powers and capacities. Our mission statement is to help people understand who they are and why they were misidentified as U.S. citizens of the United States, and provide a solution by correcting their political status, joining the Indiana Assembly in whatever state assembly, if you live in another state, if a family member is watching with you, which welcome, but they have to present on their own state that they're currently living on, including home county assembly, which by default, counts as your county assembly because it's land and soil jurisdiction again, but we've got to get enough people even on the county to be able to start building and becoming actively involved. That's the key part, where everyone has to become actively involved in restoring the Republican form of government we are owed. And you can read through there as to the different ways of service to bring that forward. We have our value statements. We stand under the laws of nature. The laws of nature is God, the Ten Commandments, the Declaration of Independence. We accept the fiduciary responsibility of the Indiana Trust and operate under the prudent man standard. In other words, it's also that we are not doing it for personal gain. That's the key issue. It's not for personal gain, because there's many out there that they start to see, well, there's how many millions of people on Indiana? Well, then that means that would have to be millions of dollars coming in. So how can we figure out a way we could? No, that's not how that's happening. Your name is not Fanny. And Fanny doesn't work here or live here. We keep the peace and uphold the public law. We report crime. We value each man and woman as a unique creation of our Creator and recognize them as a powerful co-creator. We willingly choose to self-govern and strive to show up as our best self each and every experience. And that's our best self, not our, well, we're here, we're just showing up, or we want to make sure that we're showing up because we want people to see that we're looking like we're a part of this, but we haven't actually we're not really doing anything, but we want others to see it. No, it's actually coming up, showing up, and performing, actually doing things. We will not condone or participate in any form of insurrection, rebellion, or creation of armed services other than the lawful state assemblies operated as they're supposed to be operated within each state, and so forth. And we perform under the treaties and constitutional agreements already established and for supporting the restored American government, the reconstruction thereof. This is not a reformation. This is a reconstruction, a restoring, a reconstruction, but not reformation. Nor is this any kind of battle. We're here to course correct. We got a mess to clean up, but it's course correcting. Here are important assembly documents. Some are ones that you're supposed to actually read and fill out and then return back to records at the indianaassembly.org. They're not just pretty for you to look at or just, well, that's something extra. No, these are actual things, and some of them are for you to keep for your records. But it's also supposed to be that you're meant to open it and read it. Yeah, there's work to do here. This is all about your public duty. We work through committees. So here are 3 links of more details about what the different committees are, the structures, and so forth. The call to public office, the different offices, and a little more detail about each of those, as well as the bearing of public office. And then a list of the current assembly offices and of what needs to be filled. Here are also important reads, the law of peace. Here is establishing the common law and its courts. We read through that over the last few Jural assembly calls. We've now started with reading the ex parte Milligan, which happened here on Indiana, which is the key to freeing the states with their court systems. Happened on Indiana. Important articles for Anna is that reminder that you do have 3 choices. You can either be here with the only recognized land and soil jurisdiction state assembly, or you can go to a municipal or district assembly. November 11th, 2024, the America as a whole is putting together a possibility of going on a trip. Obviously, everybody has to pay their own way, but they're looking at November 11th, 2024 to go to Faith Monument. Here is 2 videos. TikTok is a shorter one. The YouTube is the longer, about Faith Monument. Kirk Cameron goes into great detail. Here's a little more about connecting with us, primarily on Telegram. I've noticed that many have noticed that they've seen through our agendas that we're on Telegram, and they've gone in and become members of the American States Assembly, but bypassed actually becoming members of their home assembly Telegram. Again, many like to decide they're not going to do anything with their state, but they wonder why none of the services are actually up yet. But they're quick to go out to everywhere else to find things, and that's U.S. citizen tactics right there, instead of trying to support your own state assembly. Here is the piece that we are working to fill in. Everyone, this is a one-pager that has been put out there all over about how our actual government structure is supposed to look like. And this is the part that is missing. This is us. This is the part we're supposed to fill. That's you. Of the people, for the people, by the people. People actually have to do some work in here. All right. So the eligibility, 21 years of age, because lawful age is 21 and legal age is 18. Check it to make sure any comments or questions. Okay. All right. State national or state citizen must have a permanent home on the state you live on. There are many people that have emailed me and told me that they're homeless, but they still want Indiana Assembly to support them, but they're homeless. And they're not grasping that it is called land and soil for a reason. This is where you permanently call your home. You have to actually live here today. Okay? Pay attention. Stop trying to think that, well, I was born here, so I should present. Or I used to live here, but now I'm literally homeless. And I'm just barely hanging on to hang around in Indiana, but I'm literally homeless. Well, you don't have a permanent home on Indiana. You have to get yourself grounded. You have to figure out what you're doing. Plain and simple. And you can't then support the assembly until you've lived on Indiana for at least a year and a day. Various systems we need to get set, or tools and support programs to get going, is outreach and recruitment. I've been trying to do a monthly outreach call to run through. It doesn't always happen every month, because most of the time many think, well, the recording is afterwards, so no one wants to bother to show for the live for any questions when they can get those questions right in the moment. And a lot of, that's where it's helpful. You have to actually come to the table to be a part of this. So outreach and recruitment, that means also then speaking to others and bringing them to the calls. Help people understand and navigate the paperwork and record it. Help people join and participate in the assembly, either as a state national or state citizen. Explain the difference so they can see what group they belong in. Now, then we have the 4 pillars. You're going to see this and hear this often. The 4 pillars. We have the General Assembly. Everyone belongs on the General Assembly that lives on Indiana today. Even if you haven't presented yet, you're a part of the General Assembly. So there's still many things that you can still be able to do and benefit from. But obviously there's a lot that you won't be able to, because as long as you're still a U.S. citizen, you won't be able to actively step up and support in the building of this government, our true de jure republic. But you'll be able to come to the events. You'll be able to gain on the knowledge and things like that until you are ready to present. And so the General Assembly is composed of everyone currently living on Indiana. It's the committee of the whole. We have the International Business Assembly. Now that is state citizens only, and it's not just those that have declared their state citizens, because many like to think that they present their 1779 2 witness testimonies, birth certificate. Oh, I can be state citizen. I'm state citizen, but no. There is you have to also do the 928 bundle, as well as cancel all the documents. And citizen means actually doing something. It's not like a U.S. citizen. And we'll learn more about that in today's call. So only state citizens that are actually qualified, that are actually eligible to serve on the business assembly. But there's also been only a few, like 3 or 4 things that actually has been done anyway that involved only state citizens. As we go further, it eventually that will build. Oh, let's see. Is this? No, there's probably comments and the others. Okay, then there's the Jural Assembly. Everyone is a part of the Jural Assembly as well that currently lives on Indiana. If you have not presented your status correction, we have a talesman process so that you can still be a part of the jury pool. Okay, everyone is a part of that jury pool, but not everyone's necessarily going to be able to sit on a particular jury. There may be some conflicts, but that doesn't mean the next one that comes along that you aren't going to sit on it. But then it depends on presentment and what types of paperwork as to if you serve as a national or citizen within the Jural Assembly and holding offices within it. And then, of course, everyone is a part of the Assembly Militia that's ages 21 to 45. And Terry says that if you're able to pass a bottle of water, you're a part of the militia. So whatever it is you're able to do, and you can join as early as 16 to start some trainings and support through that and learning the peacekeeper aspect. But again, everyone is a part of the Assembly Militia, but then those that are actual leads within the Assembly Militia, then they're citizens. All right, because they have to have sole allegiance to the state. We don't want our peacekeepers to be wishy-washy and just bend to anyone that comes along. All right, so and all the elections are held through the General Assembly, even if it's relative to the Business Assembly, even if it's relative to Jural or Militia, the elections, everything goes through the General Assembly. Everything else really out of from the General Assembly is all considered technically a subcommittee. Again, as stated earlier, this is the only assembly with the United States of America that is Federation approved. There may be others out there that are calling themselves as Indiana Assembly on Indiana, but this is the only one that's actually approved by the Federation by Audubon Rights, the fiduciary. Reminder of the three choices. You have your land and soil state assembly that you can join, or you can join the district assembly or municipal assembly. But district and municipal assembly behavior is not acceptable here. All right, so here again, here's a diagram of showing that the General Assembly is the driver. Everything goes through the General Assembly. Here's a breakdown of the pillars, the four pillars, as well as here is a visual that shows what official roles are available within each of the pillars. Some have whether it's ASN or ASCs, depending on what it is. All right, so there wasn't much to update on this anyway, but the last time it was updated was April 15th. But this last week, we welcomed home Karen on Miami County and Jerome on Lake County. So we want to make sure we give them a great big welcome, welcoming them home. They've presented at least the bare minimum of 2 witness testimonies, 1779, and verification that they live on Indiana. Okay, so that's further populating Miami County and Lake County, which were both already green. And those counties that are in green mean that it's been populated. By that, I also mean that it's at least one has presented their status correction on that county. The ones in yellow are ones that have at least emailed in and said, hey, I'm interested in, at least getting some more information, but they have not presented yet. And then, of course, the ones in white, no one has spoken up. So whatever county you're on, start talking. You're part of outreach. Start talking to your county and surrounding counties. We got to help everybody find their way home. Be that beacon of light. All right, now these numbers on this chart here were based on April 15th, okay, as of April 15th. So that's what these numbers are, but at least it tells you, identifies how many national citizens, federal person are in process on the county. I obviously did not list all the white ones that no one has spoken up with. All right, so I'm just leaving this up so you have some more information on this, because this is relative, the AFD, Good News for Living People, so it's relative to the prosperity prosperity card with global family group. So of information for you to keep on track with. But that isn't updated information, obviously, because that has April 13th. But pay attention, watch the podcasts as well on YouTube with Nithhi. So we want to make sure that you are receiving the assembly emails. Okay, you can't just email me and say, "Can you add me to the email list?" No, because your email provider is not going to let it go through. Okay, we all know this. So, and you're self-governing. You have to be the one to actually go in, sign up, but then you have to tell your email server, because most likely it'll drop it in the spam or a junk folder. You're going to have to go in and literally click on to say report not spam, then go back to your inbox, open the email, confirm it. I had to do it 3 or 4 times with Gmail of keep going back to the inbox or to the spam before it would just go into the inbox. Now, also delete out what you've already been through in the spam. Don't just weed through it and only pick and pull certain things. Go ahead and delete it so it reduces the amount of server space you're using, and then you don't have to go back through it again. Again, we're seeking ASNs and ASC assembly members to step up, voluntarily support on General Assembly committees. An email has gone out with a list of the different committees for the General Assembly. Again, of the people, it means you have to do it. If you're sitting around and waiting to see who all's doing it, well, that's why you're not seeing anybody doing anything yet, because you're not doing anything either, are you? All right, so we also need ASNs and ASCs to volunteer for tech support to help support with all of that. And I did get it presented I did present it to the Federation. The Assembly voted unanimously on the 2 public laws, and it is published on the Assembly website as well. So, and then here again is the link for information to share with attorneys, doctors, all that. It has the sole survivor template. If you have not status corrected, you cannot use the sole survivor template, but you can still share all the other informational, all the other information in there. But you won't be able to use that sole survivor template because you will not be telling the truth if you try to use it and you have not presented. Now, take note, that's part of the debt redemption process, Mochi, Sign in America, that we're going to be talking about a little bit later as well, because that's all a part of that process. All right, so let me do a little check. Any questions, comments? All right, again, being a part of it. All right. And it's great if you're watching it and everything, but again, you have to participate. You cannot be considered it by the people or of the people if you're not actually participating. Stop being an armchair quarterback, or stop just sitting around and waiting for something else to save you. All right, so the question was brought up in yesterday's new member orientation about difference between U.S. citizen and state citizen. Okay, well, U.S. citizen, the mindset is a U.S. citizen. All they have to do is they're a U.S. citizen 24/7. All they have to do is stay in line and make sure they go vote twice a year. That's it. That's all they feel a U.S. citizen is when it comes to, or if they feel like they want to try and pull a public citizen's arrest when they don't even know how to deal with that, because it doesn't even work that way. So that's what a U.S. citizen, and their U.S. citizen is the property and is accountable to all payroll tax, all tax, till death do you part. If they want to pick you up and throw you in a jail and keep you there however long they want to, they can. It's the American people, the of, by, and for the people, that have to actually stand up and say, no, that's not how that works. Okay. All right. So here is one article that Anna had about True State National. Recently, this is obviously I've just highlighted a chunk. Recently, I explained the differences between American state nationals described under Federal Code 8 USC 1101 A21, etc., and actual American state nationals, a political status that arises from actual nationality with a sovereign organic state, and which is not a condition defined by or conferred by any legislative act or federal code. We Americans derive our nationality from our organic states of the Union. We are New Yorkers, Texans, Minnesotans, Wisconsinites, etc. by birth. Indianians by birth. I'm a Floridian by birth. This is what we mean by American state nationals. Federal territorial employees and dependents also have a designation called American state national. And this is the American state national that everybody is running right up to the passport office to get. American state national being used to describe, which is conferred upon people living in foreign territorial states of states and U.S. possessions, such as American Samoa or the territorial state of Vermont, for example. So pay attention. When you ran right out there to make sure and get that U.S. passport because you were trying to say you were an American state national, that's the American state national you actually got. So the same words American state national are being used to describe two completely different political statuses. So which one are you? If you're a federal, military, or civil service employee, or the dependent of such a person, you might claim to be an American state national as defined by federal code, and this is the David Strait process. If you're a member of the general public, you're an American state national in our system by birth, and you are an employer of all federal and federal state of state employees by definition. So soak that in. Okay, so here's a little bit more about the difference between them. So, and this first link up here is where all of this is referenced from. So verbs describing state citizen: participate, occupy position, operating, restore, volunteer to serve, complete construction, restore, fill, serve, complete, act in the capacity, engage. All requiring some movement on your part. Not just, yeah, this is a great show. I got my popcorn, got my drink. I'm just waiting for them to get to where I can access the money and then let's talk. That's what everybody seems to be sitting around and waiting for. Which again, it's a money spell. You got to break the money. One, the money that you're still trying to dance around and chase after is not real. It's false. It's fake. Also go, and so that goes into more from Article 1574. And then Article 295, citizen versus national, and it's using Georgia as an example, so you can always replace it with Indiana. Those who are occupying positions in Georgia, in the Georgia state government, judges, sheriffs, coroners, deputies, clerks, bailiffs, land recorders, jurors, justices of the peace, dog catchers, all the public employees of the Georgia state are supposed to be operating as Georgia state citizens. Okay? Georgia national, so those all that are actually serving a role within the system, within the process, that's actually part of that and serving within it, they're supposed to be the state citizens. State citizens, not dual citizens, state citizens. Georgia nationals have been confused into thinking that they're Georgia state citizens, even when they haven't occupied any public office. Have done nothing. Absolutely nothing. Are you a Georgian operating as a Georgia state national with all your rights and immunities intact? Or are you a Georgia state citizen filling a public office of some kind for the Georgia state government? Things to think about, right? Article 1587, in order to accept your actual duty as American state Republican citizens or American state citizens, you have to actually accept the actual duty that comes with it. Only those of us who can and who are willing can act in the capacity of American state citizens and assemble a true State of the Union. So those that act, you have to actually be eligible, but then it also means you have to be willing and then act. And a lot of people are saying they're willing. Everybody says that they're willing to participate. They're willing to do something. But when it comes time to say, okay, well, we've got this, and this that we could use some, is there something in the, oh no, I don't have time for that. I can't help with that right now. And then you never see them again because they were actually asked to be able to help, even though they said they were ready to help. All right, Article 1624. Those who act as American state citizens and who assemble the actual states are acting in a totally different and higher capacity that does not compete with any state of state organization, but which does hold the authority to tell the state of state what to do. Both in general and in specifics, the actual state assembly composed of American state citizens has the authority to tell the state of state governor how high to jump, how high to administer the state resources, how to administer the state resources, what fees and charges the people will accept, and what services they will receive or not from the state of state. It is precisely this role of the state citizen and the state assembly that has stood empty for too long, leaving the people of this country without a voice and without control over the succession of mostly foreign commercial corporations that have edged in here since the Civil War and operated as state of states. You're being called to act as state assemblymen and state assembly women. Plain and simple. You're being called to do duty, especially if you're saying that you're a citizen. It means your public duty. All right. So, all right, John on Carroll County, welcome on YouTube. Good to see you. I'm making sure I get you on the agenda afterwards. All right. See if there's any no comments in there. No comments. Okay. All right, we shall continue. All right, so many are confused again because they seem to think, well, I've joined the assembly, I just need to call or you're not going to call me because I won't answer anyway. But I need to email Christine and say, I have this problem, I need some money. Okay, well, again, we need to be reminded that we're self-governing. This is of, by, and for the people. There are no tax dollars that have been funneled here. There's no separate padding of money held anywhere for this. The assembly literally operates on what you give to the assembly. If you're not giving anything to the assembly, how would there be funding to be able to turn around and give someone cash to say you need help with your bills? Not to say that if it wasn't here at some point, but that also would be a General Assembly matter. One, the General Assembly has to make sure and collect those funds. The General Assembly would have to establish a welfare fund, ensure that it is funded before any funds would be able to be distributed. And again, so many think that they get themselves into situations because they really weren't governing themselves well in the time. And so they got themselves into some trouble. And now, even though they've gotten emails after emails after emails after emails and information from the assembly, every bit of that information leads you to what we're talking about right now. It's the debt redemption program, also known as MOCHI. It's also part of the, if you go to Sign in America for debt relief, this is the same information you're going to get. One, it boils down to I can't fix it for you. The assembly can't fix it for you. You have to fix it for you. But we have provided the information. But again, there is no Christine can just write a letter and clear it all. No. You had work that you were given the steps, you were given the information, you were given what to read through, to work through all along. But many just glazed over it because they thought, well, I'm going to try and see if I can just get some straight out cash for this, and then I don't have to worry about playing around this dance. But again, they're thinking that that there's again some kind of IRS enforcement that's been stealing the money and has a whole bunch of money sitting around to just be able to help you. But that's not how this works. But again, had the assembly and the people on the assembly, the citizens and the nationals, actually come to the table, actually start building things, we would have the court system in play that would be able to help you right now. If you would step up and come forward to help with the court system, that's part of this process too, because 90% of what actually goes through the courts of courts is actually a tax collection. It's just a process to try and get some money. It's that most of it is for that. It's not for actual causing physical harm or property damage. And every bit of this, your remedy has been right here all along the way, but you didn't want to do it, or you thought it was a one and done and didn't realize, no, this is not one and done, any kind of done deal. If you're wanting support with paying for bills from a corporation, this is the process that you have to do in the meantime, because until American Federation dollars are accepted, you're not going, even if you've got your global family account set up and you're seeing the distributions coming in, that court of court is not going to take a QR code for that payment right now, because they're only dealing in US dollars. This is the process you have to take, is going through this MOCHI process. Now, here is the link right here on the Assembly's website. Now, if you go to theindianaassembly.org, it's still going to redirect you to AmericanStateNationals.org, because the primary website for the assembly is hosted by the Federation. So that's why you see it changed to here. But this is the Indiana portion of it. And DRC for Debt Redemption Center. You will see the history of where we have had calls for the history. You will see it's got most recent first. So you'll see the history from the bottom moving up as the process to go through this has been worked through. Now in 2019, 2020, it was set up that the people presented, as long as they presented their 928s to the assembly, then they could present their bills. The sign-in coordinator, which is me at this time, interim Sign-in America coordinator, because we're still waiting for someone qualified and eligible to step up and then be elected into the role to be able to support the role. So I'm temporarily filling the role. That's why it's not a building of the assembly process. So it's a role that I can be able to fill. There have been calls where we've had actual in-person events that was also recorded live or streamed live, and then the recording placed up there. It's all listed there, and steps and instructions and everything are listed there. The email went out when you got your welcome home email that talked about the debt redemption process. And if you wanted to order the debt redemption bundle, because it comes with the stamp, and then a link to all the instructions. So then that way, because originally, like I said, it was that the Sign in America processed those payments out. But then the process was changed that Americans present status corrected state nationals and state citizens could do their process themselves. And that training was started over a year ago here on Indiana. And that information has been sent out to everyone on Indiana, and all the emails, all the links even include debt redemption information right here. But what does that mean? This is a lifestyle change. It means this is going to have to be a part of your bookkeeping process. It means that you have to do it. Not only do you have to do this process, but then you still have to pay the bill. Unless you choose not to pay the bill. But I suggest I wouldn't do it on your house or car, because they'll pick that up quicker than they can decide. Because the billing process is where you're sending it to the U.S. Treasury to get the U.S. Treasury to pay them, which is the actual procedure that's supposed to be done that we were afforded in the HR 92. I'm not citing that completely correctly, but it's HRJ 92 something, that this is the process of how those bills are supposed to be handled, because they took away the gold standard. It's called Mochi. Now, while you're signing up for that email that says, sign me up for the information on debt relief, or you're needing an emergency assistance, this is the emergency assistance you're going to get. You're going to be sent to the link that has all the information there of the different, whether it's just a regular bill, if it's something relative to court process, what notices you're going to have to send out. You're going to have to work through there to word it as to what is going to be able to work for your situation. There is no debt consulting team that does it for you. Again, you as an American have to take responsibility for your actions. All I can do is bring you the information. Every one of you are still responsible for doing this aspect. Now, in the meantime, you can also be, you want to start getting everyone that you receive a bill from, stop receiving the electronic billing and get a paper bill. Because you need that paper bill so that you can be able to actually do the process. Some of that stuff you can work through, that if it originated here on Indiana, but they're using a collection agency outside of Indiana, throw out that it's lack of jurisdiction. That's trafficking. That's human trafficking outside of jurisdiction. There's many things. I did that with a student loan, a college here on Indiana. My bachelor's, for my bachelor's degree, my whole $3,000 student loan for the whole bachelor degree program, because my husband said, you got to get a computer. You can't keep living at the library, do your homework. So he said, get a computer. So I got senior year, got that $3,000 to be able to get the computer set up and everything. And by this point now, and that was in the early 2000s, early 2000s, it turned into $10,000 with all their fees and everything. They were trying to put a judgment on me, but because I wasn't employed anywhere, and I canceled revocation. I did the revocation of election to pay taxes. They had nowhere to do a payroll judgment. They had no authority to do a payroll judgment. And so then it turned it into a collection agency process at that point. And so the collection agency became an attorney out of Kentucky. And so the envelope, twice I had said, return to sender, no, cease and desist, not acceptable as address per 18 USC 1341, 1342. Then finally, I put on the last time I highlighted, put alert, attempted human trafficking outside of original jurisdiction in big letters in red, and highlighted it and put return to sender, not at this location, cease and desist. Got a copy of it. Within a few days after the date of return, which you can tell because the date that's on the envelope that came from this attorney office and the date that's on the court case, it had said that it was in judgment, and then the date is shortly right after the date on the envelope, and it put dismissed. I ain't paid a dime to him. And that was clearly, literally, because I used the U.S. Postal Service's that recording, and I put alert, human trafficking, attempted human trafficking outside of original jurisdiction. And now that's been, it literally says dismissed. So just putting that out there of things, just little things you can be able to do to rebut back to some of this. Okay. All right. So there's going to be mailings you're going to have to do, but if you go here, you're going to be able to get the instruction. At the top is a link to the main instruction, as well as different documents, added things, and the recordings that you can be able to go back to. And again, you cannot do this if you have not status corrected. As a U.S. citizen, you're obligated to all of that. And it can actually get you into serious trouble if you attempt it. All right, here was the information from the Florida election process. Here's a link that has each of these documents as to how they're working through that. It would be great if you could please read through that and send an email to me. Everybody knows my email at this point. You can just send it state court at theindianassembly.org. I don't know why you seem to think right now that, anyway. Some aren't even sure how to be able to connect with me yet. They're emailing me of, I don't know how to connect with you. Okay. So, let me know. What did you think about this? Is that something that we can work with? But again, you have to have presented your status to be eligible to even go to this point of looking at this election information. Here are a list of the general committees that an email has gone out as to if you are interested in, and you will only have received that email if you've presented your bare minimum status. All right, here are Anna's articles for this week. Well, not exactly. It's from the last 2 weeks, from the last General Assembly or Jural Assembly call that we had last month on the 22nd. So this is from what I had in the 22nd. It ended at 4765 to today. So here are the links, and you can be able to hear, and it's directly for each of those links, or you can go to AnnaVonRights.com or search AnnaVonRights.com and enter in the article number or the name link, but the link's right here for each of those articles. All right, so I don't see Joe of being able to have made it, but again, he is our postal area chief for Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan, as well as he is the executive director for the Peacekeepers. So he's not always going to, and we have life. He has a family and a full-time work that he, to be able to support his family. So, but these are the primary things right now that we're trying to address. This map here is, you'll see that there's a line around the center. So the counties that the line is in and north are considered border counties. This is because U.S. Customs and Border Control controls 100 air miles of the border. And that covers all of Michigan and this far into Indiana. So if you're in these counties, if the current sheriff on your county is constitutional and would possibly be open to listening, send his or her contact information to Joe. You can click on right here, this link here, priority notice to all jurisdiction sheriffs, as well as there's contact information in there, as well as in the assembly invite email, it has his email address that you can send questions directly to as well. But you can go here. This is relative directly to the borders, to the counties, relative to the border control here. And then Joe will connect with that sheriff so that you don't have to be the one to have that kind of conversation. Joe's going to be the one that would be able to have that kind of conversation. But if you don't think that your sheriff is a constitutional sheriff and is not going to be into supporting, then we need someone on your county that is a citizen, that is fully armored up, fully have all the paperwork, all the cancellations, cannot have any dual loyalties in any way. Okay. And we need to get them connected with Joe to start working with how to be able to work with Border Patrol. Another is that they're looking for he's looking for one assembly liaison from each of the state assemblies that will be that one, not serving in any other roles within the assembly, but can go to that assembly call or to that peacekeeper information, bring information that's on Indiana to the table with the peacekeepers, as well as gain information from the peacekeepers that you bring back to the assembly. But that also requires that while you're not doing anything else with the assembly, it still means you have to show up for the assembly calls to present the information that you've learned and gathered from it. So many like to think that they're going to slither in behind and think that they're going to be able to jump in and try and get some back information and everything, and then not actually still then present with their assembly. For some reason, those that want to get into peacekeepers seem to think that they are not supposed to have anything to do with their assembly. Marshal at Arms is whole on part of the assembly, has to be totally a part of the assembly. Every bit a part of the assembly, on the calls, every bit a part. There's actually playing a role. It's not just to get that title, but then never show up. There's a lot of work that comes with that. And we're all, again, volunteers, though, to do this, too. All right. Let's see. Oh, all right. Keith on Vigo. Haven't seen you in a while. Welcome. HJR 192. Thank you. I knew I was getting close to around it. All right. Thank you, John. Okay. I got to make sure that and Keith is also on YouTube with John on Carroll County. It's great to connect with you again, Keith. It's been a bit. Hopefully, an email is going out trying to see an easier time that everybody could be able to come to the table, but you have to respond. But have you updated your email with the assembly? We need to make sure and check that you are still getting the current emails. And this presentation has the link of where to go to make sure that you're getting the email information. Here is about the first generation of med beds on Indiana. Details about it. They're out of Florida. Contact info, their website. If you did want to support bringing the first med bed to Indiana, here's the link directly to support there. Here's a lot of the links for the assembly here, but also the main list is on Linktree. Don't forget to join us on Telegram. Many are going over and joining the American States Assembly and the Peacekeepers Task Force, but completely bypassing their own home assembly Telegram channel. Hello. You got to participate with the state. You've got to realize you have to participate with the state. This is not the U.S. And slithering around like that is U.S. citizen behavior. A reminder that all gifts, even if it's for services or goods, it's all welcome, but it's also non-refundable and all benefits waived. All right, so we went through here these items. Again, support Anna, but also support the assembly, because again, if you're not supporting the assembly, how do you expect any of the service just to go forward? How do you really ask yourselves, how do you think all the internet tools are still happening? How do you think that post office box is still getting paid? How do you think the electric to keep things going is still getting paid? How do you think the internet is still going to keep this going? Pay attention right here, the very last line of the Declaration of Independence. And for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. But I'm not Trump, so don't look to me to think that I have all the money in the world to cover all services. But I've done a great deal to keep things going. But a large part of what has been kept going is because of those on Indiana that have supported. A lot of times it's been because I've had to put together some kind of a package plan to be able to get that support, because many are not realizing that, you know what, having a monthly donation like you would, I mean, every pay gets money taken out to be able to be given for that. If you are going to church, you're putting something in for the tithe, but nobody wants to think about how it's supposed to operate here. So just remember that it's of, by, and for the people. You can't expect it to be of the people or for the people if you haven't been a part of by the people. Plain and clear. All right, so again, we're adjourning to May 20th for the next General Assembly, and next week, May 13th, for the Jural Assembly. And you'll be able to get all the other detailed information there. So, all right, and let me, because right after I'll be able to get the presentation up, and I may be able to get, I'll be able to get the free conference call link up right after. But up there, right here is the link that if you're not getting the current assembly emails, is called from a newsletter source called Zoho. If you're not currently getting this is the link you have to go and actually sign up for it. I can't do it for you. Again, we're self-governing. You're going to have to go there and you're going to have to confirm it. You also have to trick the algorithms. You have to actually open the email. You don't have to actually click in on anything and go to it if you didn't want to go to it, but you have to actually click on the emails and open them. Or else it thinks, even if you previewed and responded to it, the algorithms are going to think that you don't want that and they'll bump it right back into spam. Okay? And I can't fix that. That has to come from you. This is all self-governing. Either you want to participate or not. If you're claiming that you're a U.S. citizen, pay attention to this evening's agenda, where we specifically went into more detail about a U.S. citizen. Okay, good. Okay. All right. Cool. So making sure of what a U.S. citizen is, while many have said that they're a U.S. citizen, we still haven't seen them actually act on that. We haven't seen them perform on that. Many are like, as a U.S. citizen is quick to check all the boxes, but yet they're unable to commit to anything. Or if they do commit, then they are not able to follow through with anything. So these are things that we're having to teach ourselves, right? Of what being mature means. Don't commit if you have no intention of committing. Okay. For example, don't sign up for new member register for new member orientation thinking, well, you'll still be able to get a pass, but then never show up for the call. Or show up for the call for the first few minutes enough to get recognized, but then bump out and never come back to the call and think you're going to get full credit for being on the call. These are all U.S. citizen childlike behaviors. Okay. That's not appropriate here. You can do that wherever you want elsewhere. But if you make, as Americans that are mature, if you're stepping up, then you follow through with what you're stepping up with. If you say you're going to do something, then you follow through and do it. You actually bring a deliverable for it and everything. You don't just, oh, well, I said I'll do it. It's all right. I got it. Don't worry. I got it covered. But then we never see it or you again. Okay. There's been times where many have committed to say, all right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to support with this. I'll go work on that this week. And then we had that one time and they ended up leaving the state for a few months and never followed through. So, again, that's U.S. citizen behavior. If you don't mean it, don't say it. If you're not going to do it, don't commit to it. Okay? Follow through. This is part of being an American. But it also means you have to roll up your sleeves. There's not a credit service here to be able to take care of all your bills for you because you didn't want to feel like doing it. You didn't want to handle it. We've given you everything you need before you, but you still have to go through it. You still have to see what's going to work for your situation. I can't write those letters for you. I can't mail those letters for you. I can't speak on your behalf for you. You have to do it. So, and I get many of us have been in dire straits. Many of us have been in dire straits. But it's also because of our own actions and lack of there were many things that could have been done prior to. Many things that could have been done differently prior to, but we didn't want to face it. We didn't want to deal with it at the time. Well, now it's hit us. Now it's in the face. Well, you still have to handle it yourself. There is no, it's not any kind of, it's not like a church that everybody is set up their direct deposit to go ahead and make sure to do a deposit to their church each week. Or if they're sitting in church, they're able to cash app a payment right then to that church to make sure we get that money right there to that church. But they haven't really done anything to help. And many want to think that money that's the only thing that's there. But it's of, by, and for the people. If you would actually come to the table while you're saying you're a citizen, then that means you come to the table. Then we could get the courts built. And then our people, Indianians, would not be in trouble, wouldn't have to deal so much with and have to bother with that court. That our court here on Indiana could actually support them. So many of you you're wanting half of it. You want half. You don't want to. You want, and you think you're going to get a different response, while still only half-assing it. Still only trying to get somebody else to do it. You're still trying to put the responsibility on somebody else, but then wonder why you're not getting any clearing out. You have to come to yourself. Come within yourself and you're just going to have to open up the emails. You're going to have to read the emails. You're going to have to read through the articles. It's already given to you. And again, even if you were to email me to say, hey, let's schedule a call, which would be a week before we could even have a consult, you could have already read the emails that I would have just in the call tell you this is where you're going to go to start doing your research for it, for me to follow with an email that you probably won't read anyway because you weren't just given a handout. Well, it was supposed to be easy for me. I'm supposed to be able to be recognized, but not. And not want to actually stand up and handle your own responsibilities. So, again, we went through as that reminder. I'm going to keep that slide in about the Mochi process. The Mochi process, debt redemption process, hasn't ended. It's only ended if you've stopped doing it, because most don't want to take on the time of doing that each month. Most don't want to go ahead and still make the payment until they see that it's actually kicked in. It could take 6-8 months of the payment of actually before you and it could take 6-8 months before you even see the first payment on there. Or it could be that you see a payment in 3 months, but then they don't take it again. So you've got to wait till you actually see, because the Treasury has to contact that place that sent the bill. They're going to have to work out some kind of arrangement, because everybody knows that there's no real money. And then that place accepting that has the bill, they're going to have to decide, because they may not like the way the U.S. Treasury wants to handle the process, and they may decide they won't take anymore. And so you'll still have to keep pushing to send them, to get the U.S. Treasury to still keep pushing to force them that this is what's lawfully owed to you. But it means you have to do that work to keep pushing it. It's not I sent it the first month and they're supposed to just take care of it, so I'm just going to wait. And then not continue to do it each month, and also stop paying a bill. And then they wonder, well, they're coming to foreclose, or the sheriff's coming to evict me. And it's like, but you had opportunities along the way with the paperwork that you could have already been rebutting every bit of that along the way. So you have to remember that this is not some local state or municipal county government office that you go sign up for some assistance. There's no assistance to give other than to show you where to find your homework for you to get the templates and the information and the history, but you still have to read through it. It's not a handout deal. You got yourself in trouble. There's nothing actually fixes it until you do something to correct it. So you have to get that in your head and you can bully an email to me all day and all night, but unless you actually are the one that decides to sit down and put that letter together, and if you haven't even status correct, there's nothing I can do, because none of that information is going to be applicable to you if you haven't even status corrected. Think about that. If you haven't even status corrected, you can't use any of that process to support you. And don't go bankruptcy. We did bankruptcy in 08. Was it 08? Or maybe a little sooner? And it was still on our credit for well over the 7 years. And I think it's even still on there, but it's, because of the time. But see, and that never really, within the first few weeks, of course, you were able to get all kinds of added credit. People were willing to give you credit for this, and this. But it never really was a benefit. It never actually cleared anything. It still hangs, every bit of that, even though it showed a discharge through the bankruptcy court. On the credit report, it shows bankruptcy discharge. So it didn't actually do any kind of favors, other than you're not going to have them hounding you with a collection letter every month and trying to have it stolen out of your pay. It actually caused more harm. It killed our credit by filing bankruptcy after that 7 years. It still was, because we couldn't get it cleared off. They'll allow anybody to put something bad on your credit, but you have to fight and show proof that it doesn't belong on there to get it removed. But of course, that's their system set up in play in the first place, right? So again, And you knew before you got to the point where you're emailing of saying you're in dire straits, you knew beforehand. You knew clearly a while ahead of time. I've even had some that we went back and forth on their paperwork for over 2 months. And literally once they received their welcome home email, they said that they were being evicted by the end of next week. How could we help? And I was like, you knew 2 months ago we were dealing with this paperwork. You never said a word. We could have worked quicker to get your paperwork done so that you could start this process. But you also even waited till that moment to even said that you had a problem, that we could have done something sooner to get that information to you, make sure you had at least the bare minimum on the record. But he was trying to get everything on the record when there were some things he had enough on, the 1779 2 witness testimonies, birth certificate. Oh, no, excuse me. We were still trying to deal with it. He was doing everything but the 2 witness testimonies. For some reason, he wasn't thinking he had to have witness testimonies, then only thought 1. But the point was, we drug on for 2 months just to get his paperwork for a status correction to literally say that he was being evicted and within a week. Within a week, the sheriff was coming to evict. And I was like, you knew this. We could have gotten this done a lot sooner and helped you a lot sooner so that you wouldn't be literally going out onto the street. And which would mean then you're homeless. And now you've just stated that you're a national, as a state national. And now you're saying as well that come in a week, you're going to be homeless. Therefore, then you're no longer living on the land and soil of Indiana. So you're not realizing how this can snowball so quickly, that while you're busy waiting and maintaining that sloth mentality, look it up. Just one of the 7 deadliest sins is being a sloth. It's not just being lazy. It's being lazy and not fulfilling your own responsibilities. And that's why people get into the situation that they're in. So go pay attention, read the emails. The information is coming to you. I would, even if you were to get me on a call for a consult, I'm still going to send you to the same places because I can't write the letter for you. I can't send it for you. I can't call anybody up to do it for you. I can't even send money to you to be able to fix whatever you're doing. Again, this is where you, the people, the living people on Indiana that live on Indiana today, have to step forward, have to come together to build the assembly, have to get the court system in play. You get the court system in play, and that'll knock out a lot of these court issues. But at the same time, we have to live as we're self-governing, and then we wouldn't have to deal with so much of that as well. Right? Getting our courts up. That's going to make a big difference. We get the courts up, and then statewide, it's going to be recognized as the true de jure republic, and more will open up for everyone to provide that support and assistance. But you have to do the work. There is no more of this passing it off to someone else. You've got to get out of the sloth mindset if you want to live. And a sloth isn't acceptable here. The sloth behavior is not acceptable here. Nothing would get done. And from what has gotten done so far has not been because of a sloth mentality. What has been gotten done so far. Okay? So we want to wake up, remember who we actually are, why we're here, and that if you want to be included as part of by and for the people, that means by. That's the part you have to remember. By is that everybody gets involved. It includes it in our autograph. Include the by in your autograph. Many forget to actually write it in your own wet ink because it's on the piece of paper. Okay? We're all going through this. You're not in trouble. And even if you think you're in trouble with the de facto, it's not as much trouble as what you think. First, you got to take a deep breath, let it out, and remember who's in control of your life. Now, if you decide that you're letting the de facto be in control of your life, then you can stay and all that. But otherwise, you can say, okay, I got myself into this. I can get myself out of that. Doesn't mean that you don't have resource material to go through. So that's where you go through the on the indianaassembly.org. It's up here at the top, and up at the top in the toolbars it has Debt Redemption Center. Okay, that's where you're going to find the instruction videos, the printout instruction, and the most recent version of the instruction all on top. But you'll be able, and added documents, templates within there. So you'll be able to see all that within there. But you have to do it. It's not like a credit counseling. There's no organization like that within this to do this. Okay? That is purposely designed for U.S. citizens, and you're still paying every bit of it yourself. And you just added another middleman in the middle of it, and so you got another fee that's been added, but it's spread out over payments you can be able to afford at that point, right? No, this is actually course correcting the correct way. Again, thank you, John, on Carroll County. It's HJR 192, and all that information is on the Assembly website on the debt redemption of why you're supposed to do this is because when they took us off the gold standard, they gave no other remedy to be able to pay the bills. So this is why this process is being used. And that's how you pay for bills, those for corporations. It's not going to cover if you have a loan between man to man. Okay, it's only going to be with the corporations, the de facto court system, things like that. Okay. And you can even start doing it with your utility bills. Okay. The same process with your utility bills. You're going to make sure that you get a paper bill because you got to send the paper bill to U.S. Treasury because they have to have an original to be able to process on. So you'll get original billing. As opposed to the electronic billing. And then you also want to start communicating with them to see when they would be, or if they're even on target yet to start accepting QR codes as a form of payment. Okay. The sooner you can get all the places that you're interested in that you want to pay money to, the sooner you can get them on board with getting accepting a QR code as an acceptable form of payment, then you can be able to start using your American Federation dollars through the QR code. Okay, because if you did, because once you status corrected, that's when you're eligible for the Global Family Group Prosperity account. And each month, then an allotment of $5,000 of American Federation dollars is dispersed into your account. And now you have the ability to create your own QR code so that you can send it to others. But they have to still be accepting, and places are not accepting QR codes as a form of payment yet. They're obviously using QR codes for everything of trying to get more information because they're already trying to get you programmed into getting used to the QR code process. But I do know with Walmart is accepting QR code as a payment process, but only if you are currently a Walmart employee. And so they're testing it through because if you'll notice those Walmart One cards, if you're an employee, you got a black card. If you're not an employee, it's a light blue card. And those that are employees, they can use it. They can use a QR code to make their payments, pay for groceries and stuff through Walmart. But they're only right now using it with their employees. But that shows you, though, that that's the migration, that they will be moving it slowly to moving it over soon for their average customers to start using that. And once that opens up, and they'll have to start taking, because they're already taking, a lot of places are already taking international dollars anyway. A lot of places are already accepting Bitcoins to some extent of that kind. I've even seen in Indy, they have Bitcoin ATM machines. So we'll start seeing it. It's going to happen much quicker now of these things. And then you can, then if you didn't want to go through the mochi process to do it correctly, you just wanted to pay, and then you can use your QR code and pay with American Federation dollars if you really wanted to do that kind of conversion. Because remember, the US dollar, even though American Federation dollars are being traded dollar for dollar if you're wanting to deposit money in, but then it's getting a $234. It's $234, I think, is the comparison back as to how much the American Federation dollar is compared to US dollar. So, I mean, if you're wanting to convert from Federation dollars to US dollars, you're welcome to. But eventually that's going to pan out and work through. And most likely, I'm not saying for sure the end of the year, but I'm saying it's that much closer that we're right here with it. Again, it also depends on you, how much you're out talking with those vendors that you're wanting to work with. Because if you're talking to your local Dollar General, just for an example, and in your county, and this one's talking to their Dollar General, and this one's talking to their Dollar General. Well, all these locations, they're asking if maybe we need to go ahead and get started with accepting payments, and that'll start pushing the movement and get it out there faster. So again, it takes you to actually do something to be able to bring this forward, right? All right. So I'm going to stop talking because I could keep on talking. Because it's always good to get a chance to when we are at the table together to get a moment to be able to talk. But all right, so we'll go ahead and end it here. I want to thank you all again. We'll be then on next week, the 13th. Next week is for the Jural Assembly, and then the 20th we're back here for the General Assembly. Next week we're reading more of the Ex Parte Milligan, so don't forget to join us. And I wish you all peace and love. Have a great night. Take care.